Commander Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of Kepler Station, gazing out as the stars sparkled like scattered diamonds across the vast black canvas of space. Below him, the station buzzed with quiet activity, humans and aliens working side by side in the research labs. 3 years had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Council, and Jake believed they were building something meaningful out here at the edge of known space. Dr. Lisa Grant entered the command center, coffee in hand and a datapad loaded with medical reports. Her groundbreaking research on alien biology had already saved thousands of lives across 12 species. She smiled warmly at Jake as she skimmed the day's updates. "The Zephyrian delegation arrives today for the Peace Summit," Lisa said. "They're especially excited about the joint vaccine project." Jake nodded, eyes drifting to the observation window where ships were arriving, dozens of vessels from across the galaxy encircling Kepler Station. The annual summit was a symbol of unity, bringing together representatives from 43 species to collaborate on trade, diplomacy, and science. It was meant to be a celebration of peace in the residential sector. Lisa's 8-year-old daughter Amy played in the garden dome with her alien friends. Her laughter echoed as she chased a small centurion child between the flower beds. Nearby, other families watched their children, human and alien, play together. It was the kind of future humanity had long hoped for when they first reached toward the stars. Meanwhile, Captain Ben Hughes patrolled the outer perimeter of the system with a modest defense fleet. 3 human destroyers and several support ships. With so many civilians aboard, the Galactic Council enforced strict regulations. No planet killing. Weapons were permitted within 10 light-years of a settlement. Hughes followed the rules to the letter, trusting the other species would too. "All clear out here," Hughes reported, overcomes to Jake. "Alien ships are keeping their distance and following all security protocols." Jake allowed himself a rare smile. Kepler Station stood as proof that humanity belonged in the galactic community, with over 5,000 humans and 2,000 alien residents. The station had become a beacon of cooperation, home to scientists, diplomats, families, and children. But in the hidden corners of the Galactic Council's inner chambers, another conversation was unfolding. Dever of the hegemony had been observing humanity's rapid rise with mounting concern. In just 5 decades, humans had evolved from planet-bound newcomers to formidable players in both technology and diplomacy. Vex of the Vorthic, his scaled features tight with disdain, addressed the gathered council via encrypted channels. "They evolve too quickly," he warned. "Their weapons grow more advanced each year. Their population spreads across a dozen worlds. Soon, they'll challenge our authority." Some older species, long secure in their dominance, shifted uncomfortably. For millennia, they had controlled the balance of power. The idea of surrendering influence to a new and unpredictable species unsettled them. "But the humans follow all our laws," protested Ambassador Krell of the peaceful Antari. "They have done nothing to violate our codes." "Not yet," Vex snapped. "But one day, when they are strong enough, they will reveal their true nature. All young species eventually turn aggressive. We must act before it's too late." The debate raged for hours across encrypted networks hidden from the light, shielded from accountability. Fear triumphed over justice, greed smothered honor, and in the cold silence between stars, the Galactic Council cast a secret vote. They called it preventative action. In truth, it was authorization for genocide. Back on Kepler Station, Commander Jake Morrison reviewed final security plans for the upcoming Peace Summit. He believed in what the summit represented: progress, unity, hope. He didn't know that death was already hurtling toward them, disguised in silence and cloaked in shadows. The Vorthic battle fleet had launched 3 days earlier. No transmissions, no warnings. Just cold engines pushing through hyperspace, with one mission: annihilation. Dr. Lisa Grant worked late in her lab, eyes red from fatigue, but mind alive with discovery. She was on the verge of a breakthrough or cure for a plague that had already claimed millions. Tomorrow, she planned to unveil it at the summit. She never would. Amy Grant, just 8 years old, slept peacefully in her quarters. Her room was filled with hand-drawn portraits of her alien friends. Tomorrow was her birthday. There would be cake, balloons, and a party in the garden dome. Children from 6 different species had RSVP'd, but none of them would live to see it. Captain Ben Hughes, on routine patrol, noticed strange readings. At first, he assumed it was a late summit delegation. Then the ship's signatures resolved. His blood went cold. "Command, this is Hughes," he transmitted. "Urgency rising. We have hostile contacts, Vorthic warships. Multiple. They're decloaking and arming weapons." Jake Morrison sprinted into the command center just as the first plasma salvo hit. Kepler station buckled, the residential dome. Amy's dome was obliterated in a flash of burning gas. "Raise the shields," Jake shouted. Too late. The Vorthic were using banned plasma bombs designed not to disable, but to exterminate. This was not an act of war. It was a calculated genocide. Lisa Grant died clutching a data drive, her unfinished cure still inside it. The flames consumed her lab, her work, and her hope. She died trying to save lives, even alien ones. Captain Hughes's destroyers, designed only for patrol and diplomacy, were shredded within minutes. He'd followed council law. He'd played by the rules. Now, those rules were being used to murder his people. As his ship disintegrated around him, Hughes managed one final message. "The council has broken faith. They targeted civilians. Avenge us." Jake Morrison stood paralyzed in the control room, watching as 7,000 souls, 5,000 humans, and 2,000 alien guests were incinerated. The garden dome where tomorrow's birthday party was to be held was now drifting vapor. The medical labs were rubble. The docking bays were silent tombs. The Vorthic ships didn't stay to gloat. They jumped back into hyperspace, but not before broadcasting council authorization. Codes on all public frequencies. They wanted it known. This massacre had not been a rogue action. It was lawful. It was approved. Among the twisted metal and drifting corpses, a few emergency beacons survived. They pulsed weak signals into the void, carrying one truth back to Earth. Humanity had been betrayed. The message would take weeks to arrive, but when it did, the age of human innocence would end, and something else would begin. They had shown mercy before to those who surrendered without resistance, but they had never faced humanity. They had never tried to murder human children. They were about to learn why that was a line no one should ever cross. The stars still glimmered above the shattered remains of Kepler station, but the galaxy had shifted. Something deep, something irreversible had awakened. Humanity's age of innocence had ended. Their age of wrath was just beginning. Lieutenant Sam Parker's shuttle limped silently through space toward Earth, its hull scorched with plasma burns and shredded by debris. He was the only survivor of Kepler station, rescued 3 days after the massacre by an automated recovery drone. Inside his ship's damaged databanks was the most valuable cargo in human history, a complete recording of the Vorthic attack. Sam had been off duty when it started, visiting friends in the outer research lab. Through the reinforced glass, he had watched in helpless horror as the residential dome erupted. Thousands of lives wiped out in a moment. The images were etched into his soul. The laughter of children, silenced in a heartbeat by alien cruelty. Families annihilated by weapons banned under galactic law. When his shuttle finally reached Earth orbit, emergency teams were already waiting. Sam was immediately taken to United Nations headquarters in New York, where the world's leaders had been gathered for 3 agonizing weeks. Ever since Captain Hughes's final fragmented transmission, They knew something horrific had occurred, but they weren't prepared for what Sam Parker would show them. President Mary Davis sat in the emergency chamber, flanked by generals, intelligence directors, and representatives from every major nation. The room fell into stillness as Sam's footage filled the massive display screens. The truth was undeniable. Vorthic warships had deliberately targeted civilians in schools, hospitals, residential blocks while broadcasting Galactic Council clearance codes. They hit the schools first, Sam said, voice quivering. Then the hospitals, then the homes. They weren't just attacking, they were exterminating. General Frank Cooper, head of global military operations, analyzed the attack with clinical precision. This wasn't chaos, he said grimly. It was a calculated slaughter. They planned every strike. President Davis sat motionless as the recording played footage from the day before the attack. Amy Grant's birthday party. The little girl laughing, surrounded by her alien friends. Full of hope, full of trust, now gone, along with thousands more. How many council species knew? Davis asked coldly. Very few, replied Director Paul Stevens of the Human Defense Initiative. Only the inner circle authorized this. Most of the council was kept completely in the dark. They expected us to fall apart, just like every species before us. Davis rose slowly, her voice calm but resolute. Call the UN General Assembly. Every ambassador, every world leader. They need to see this. Within hours, the great chamber of Earth's diplomacy was filled. The images from Kepler played for all to see. Hardened diplomats broke down as they witnessed the massacre of innocent children, killed by weapons in violation of every law the Galactic Council claimed to uphold. The Galactic Council has declared war on humanity, President Davis announced. They struck at our children, our families, our future. As of now, we withdraw from every treaty, every agreement. We no longer recognize their laws or their authority. Across the galaxy, many assumed this meant Earth would retreat, that humanity, like so many before, would slink back to its homeworld in fear. Quiet, defeated, they were wrong. Director Paul Stevens stepped to the podium. For 2 decades, he had led Project Prometheus, a covert initiative designed for this exact moment. While Earth had publicly embraced peace, it had also prepared for war. Ladies and gentlemen, Stevens said, as new images appeared across the screens, this is Project Prometheus. Across the solar system, hidden shipyards came online, revealing an armada no one had suspected. Warships unlike anything seen before. Sleek, silent, deadly, so advanced they bent light itself, wrapped in the newest cloaking technologies. And this was only the beginning. Making them nearly invisible to sensors. Admiral Kate Miller, a veteran of Earth's corporate wars, took command. Of the newly revealed Retribution Fleet, the ships had been built using technology reverse-engineered from alien equipment, improved with human innovation. Each vessel carried weapons that pushed the boundaries of known physics we've been studying. Every piece of alien technology we could get our hands on, Admiral Miller explained. To the stunned assembly, their engines, their weapons, their sensors, well learned how they work, and we made them better, General. Cooper revealed Anothersic program, the Void Hunters Special Forces. Soldiers enhanced with experimental biotechnology. These warriors could survive in any environment, from the crushing depths AFGA's giants to the radioactive surface of dying stars. They had trained for one purpose too. Take the war directly to enemy worlds. The Council thinks they know what humans are capable of. Cooper said grimly, they've only seen our diplomats and scientists. They've never met our soldiers. Dr. Tony Williams, head of the Cyber Warfare Division, presented electronic weapons. Humanity had developed computer viruses designed to infiltrate alien networks, turning their own technology against them. Communication jammers that could blind entire fleets, navigation viruses that would send enemy ships into the hearts of stars. Every alien computer system has vulnerabilities. Williams explained. "We've been mapping them for years, waiting fourth day. We might need to use this knowledge, President." Davis returned to the podium as the presentation. The world's leaders sat in stunned silence, realizing that very peaceful scientists and diplomats had been quietly preparing for galactic war. Along the council wanted to see what humans do when threatened. Davis said coldly, "They destroyed our trust, murdered our children, and broke every law they claimed to uphold. Now they will learn what we are really capable of." The first ships of the Retribution fleet slipped past the edge of the solar system, cloaked in shadows. Their stealth tech rendered them invisible to prying eyes. Unlike other species, humanity wouldn't engage in traditional, honorable fleet combat. There would be no declarations, no open battlefield. They would strike unseen, without warning, and offer no more mercy than was shown to the children of Kepler Station. "Send a message to the Galactic Council," President Davis ordered. "Tell them this. You wanted to see what humanity becomes when you threaten our families. Now, you'll learn." Beneath the surface of the moon, in facilities so classified, even their existence was denied, the forges of vengeance roared to life. Production lines lit up with activity, manufacturing weapons that had previously only existed in theoretical papers and war games, exotic matter bombs that could fracture planets, quantum torpedoes capable of slipping through energy shields, and bioweapons engineered to target specific alien genetics. The galaxy had made a fatal mistake. It had confused peace with weakness, diplomacy with submission. It had no idea that some species are never more dangerous than when they have nothing left to lose. Lieutenant Sam Parker stood at the window of his hospital room, gazing at the stars. Somewhere out there, the monsters who had destroyed Kepler Station were still celebrating. They believed humanity had been broken. They believed the dream of human expansion had died with Kepler's children. They were wrong. Soon, they would understand. The children of Earth were coming in. They were bringing a wrath the galaxy had never imagined. The age of human patience was over. The age of human vengeance had begun. In deep space, the first Retribution fleet ships crossed the heliopause and activated their experimental drives. They moved faster than light toward targets thought untouchable fortresses deep within alien space. The war was coming, and it would be fought by rules only humans understood. The sleeping giant had awakened, and its dreams were made of fire. Captain Danny Ross stood on the bridge of the UE Shadowhawk, eyes locked on the massive Vorthic supply depot orbiting a dead moon. The facility was protected by energy shields and squadrons of enemy fighters. Intelligence reports confirmed it supplied 3 Vorthic battle fleets in 30 minutes. It would be vapor. "All stations report ready," Captain said his weapons. "Officer." The Shadowhawk was the first of its kind, a stealth destroyer, undetectable to alien sensors and armed with weapons that bent the laws of known physics. Constructed in secret asteroid shipyards using breakthrough tech the rest of the galaxy thought impossible. It was a ghost made for killing. "Begin the attack," Ross ordered. The Shadowhawk decloaked directly above the depot, like death rising from the void, before the Vorthic defenders could react. Exotic matter torpedoes streaked into the depot's core. The explosion could be seen from 3 star systems. Away. Ross watched the fireball through his view screen, remembering Amy Grant and the other children lost at Kepler. His voice was calm. "Target destroyed. No survivors detected. Returning to patrol." The Shadowhawk vanished once more, slipping back into stealth mode and jumping to hyperspace. By the time Vorthic reinforcements arrived, all that remained was cooling radiation and vaporized metal. On the other side of Vorthic space, Major Kelly Barnes led her elite Void Hunter team through the narrow crawl spaces of a galactic council. Intelligence complex. Their adaptive armor blended perfectly with their surroundings, rendering them invisible even in full light. The team advanced in silence. "Security checkpoint ahead," whispered Sergeant Jim Murphy through their neural links. Void hunters were enhanced with biotech systems that let them survive in any environment and communicate wordlessly. Kelly studied the guards through her helmet's thermal sensors. 2 Vorthic soldiers at a terminal, unaware that death hung inches above them. She dropped from the ceiling vent with the silence of a falling shadow. Her blade found the first guard's throat. Murphy dispatched the second in a single movement. Clear, Kelly said, already interfacing with the main data terminal. The intelligence they extracted included high-level secrets, the locations of covert council meetings, the names of officials who had voted for the Kepler strike, and plans for further attacks on human settlements. Kelly's team copied it all and planted carefully forged evidence to sow discord among the council's leadership. Package delivered, she reported. The council's going to have a very interesting morning briefing. Far below the lunar surface, Dr. Tony Williams sat inside a bunker lined with humming quantum computers. His cyber warfare division had spent months seeding alien networks with dormant viruses, waiting for a single command to awaken them. Initiate Operation Blackout, he announced. All systems green, his tech officer confirmed. Across space, chaos erupted. Military vessels lost navigation. Communication grids collapsed. Fire control systems locked up, while others began targeting friendly ships. Weapons refused to fire or worse, turned on their own. The galaxy had underestimated humans, and now it would pay the price. The alien found themselves blind, deaf, and defenseless as their own technology turned against them. Sir, we're detecting mass system failures throughout the Vorthic fleet, reported his assistant. Their ships are colliding with each other. Some are firing on their own bases. Williams allowed himself a cold smile. Good, let them know what it feels like to be helpless. Commander Helen Baker's Marines strode through the corridors of Theta Colony, humanity's 4th settlement that had fallen to Council forces after Kepler Station. The aliens had expected to face desperate survivors. Instead, they met soldiers in powered armor who moved like angels of death through their Nessibaposins. Hostile contact level 7. Baker's point man reported over the Comvoric squad entrenched behind heavy barriers. Copy that. Switching to heavy weapons. Baker replied. Her armor, shoulder-mounted, plasma cannon charged. With a high-pitched whine, the weapon discharged a contained bolt of starfire that obliterated the alien defensive emplacement, reducing bunkers to molten slag and incinerating anything that breathed. Colonel Baker stepped through the smoldering wreckage, her boots crunching on scorched alien bone. Area secure. Continue the sweep. Her voice was cold, efficient, final. The Marine assault teams moved through Theta Colony like machines, not soldiers, but executioners. They cleared sector after sector, eliminating every hostile with ruthless precision. The aliens had thought they were occupying a defeated human outpost. Instead, they'd walked into a trap forged from fury. All sectors clear, Baker reported as the final alien fell. Begin civilian evacuation. Estimated completion, 4 hours. The surviving colonists watched in stunned silence. Their rescuers didn't cheer. They didn't celebrate. They didn't cry. They were everything that Galaxy had feared humanity could become. Back on Earth, Admiral Kate Miller sat in the underground war room carved deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Her eyes tracked the tactical display's red dots blooming across the star maps like a virus spreading in reverse. Each dot marked a victory. Each one meant an outpost erased, a fleet disabled, a fortress turned to dust. The Vorthic are pulling back, her intelligence chief reported. They're falling back to defensive positions around their homeworld, trying to regroup what strength they have left. Miller didn't blink. Traditional doctrine said to match your enemy's formation. But humanity wasn't following old doctrines. Send orders to all fleet commanders, she said. Phase 3 operations are GRENLIT. It's time we took this war to their doorstep. From a bunker beneath Washington, D.C., President Mary Davis monitored the operation in real time. The offensive was unfolding exactly as planned. Humanity had stopped reacting and begun shaping the war. Casualty reports, she asked. Minimal. MAAM. Enemy losses are approaching catastrophic levels. The aliens had made one fatal miscalculation. They assumed humans would fight by their rules. They were wrong. Humanity fought to win. With cloaked ships, with shadow strikes, with cold, calculated retribution. Any response from the Council? They're calling for ceasefire. Negotiations. They claim they're ready to discuss terms. Davis didn't hesitate. She saw again the flickering footage from Kepler Station, Amy's birthday cake burning in zero gravity. Children's screams. Hospitals turned to ash. Tell them we'll negotiate, she said. When every Vorthik responsible for Kepler is dead. Until then the war continues. Across the galaxy, other species watched in horror. The friendly humans they had once pitied as idealists were gone. In their place stood warriors, forged by betrayal, stealthy, unrelenting, and unwilling to forget. The Council had crossed a line. They didn't understand, and in doing so, they awakened something new, a unified species with righteous fury in its veins, wielding weapons that shattered the laws of nature, guided by ghosts that would not rest. The ghosts of Kepler Station. Some species break when pushed too far. Others, they transform, and when they push back, they do so with interest. Inside the deepest bunker of the Vorthik High Command, Colonel Rick Turner materialized like a phantom. His quantum phase suit let him walk through solid walls and armored bulkheads as if they weren't there. Inside the war room, alien generals huddled in chaos, desperate, panicked, clawing at maps and yelling into deadcoms. Their empire was crumbling, and death had just entered the room. They never saw it coming. Across the chamber, Turner's Void Hunter team materialized, phasing through ceilings, floors, and walls to encircle the room in silence. The guards opened fire in panic, but the energy beams passed harmlessly through the human commandos. The Vorthik weapons had no effect on soldiers who existed outside conventional reality. Warlords, Turner said, stepping directly through the holographic table, his voice calm and cold. He faced the reptilian Supreme Commander, the very one who had authorized the massacre at Kepler Station. You are under arrest for war crimes against humanity. Snarling, the alien warlord raised a plasma rifle. You cannot defeat us, human. We are masters of this galaxy. Turner pressed a control on his suit, rematerializing just long enough to seize the warlord by the throat. Not anymore, he said. Your galaxy belongs to someone else now. A blink later, the teleportation field activated and the Void Hunters vanished with their prisoners, leaving only empty chairs and the acrid scent of ozone. The most fortified bunker in Vorthik space had been breached like an unlocked door on Nexus Prime. Ambassador Lynn Carter stood before the Galactic Assembly, the air charged with tension. She inserted a data chip stolen by Kelly Barnes and her team into the main display system. Members of the Assembly, she said, her voice steady. What you're about to see is proof of the conspiracy that led to the massacre at Kepler Station. The stolen recordings flickered to life, projecting conversations between high-ranking council leaders. Members of the Assembly watched in stunned silence as their own representatives discussed the planned extermination of human civilians. They saw treaties ignored, interspecies law dismissed, and proposals to quietly eliminate other problematic civilizations once humanity had been dealt with. We were told this was a defensive action against military targets, cried the Antari ambassador, rising in outrage. The Rigelians weren't even consulted on this vote, shouted another. I'll let the recordings speak for themselves, Carter said grimly. This is what your council thinks of the laws. You helped build. This is how they treat the species who trust them. The chamber exploded into chaos. Species once unified under a single galactic banner, now realized they had been pawns. The trust that had held the Council together for millennia shattered in seconds. Meanwhile, above the Vorthic homeworld, Admiral Kate Miller's fleet clocked silent phantoms in the void. The enemy had gathered its final battle armada here, every last warship they could scrape together for a last, desperate assault on Earth. All ships, Miller said over fleet comms, weapons free. And remember, Kepler Station. Human ships opened fire with next-generation weaponry. Gravity cannons crushed enemy hulls by distorting space-time. Quantum torpedoes phased through shields, detonating inside enemy cores. Plasma beams hotter than the surface of stars burned through the armada like it was paper. The battle lasted 37 minutes. When it was over, the Vorthic fleet was gone, reduced to drifting wreckage and glowing debris. Not a single human vessel had been lost. Admiral, her tactical officer reported, enemy fleet eliminated. No survivors. Miller didn't flinch. Send a message to the Vorthic leadership. Their military is finished. Surrender or face extinction. On the planet's surface, General Frank Cooper led the final assault, personally. Human dropships phased through the planetary shield grids like mist. The Void Hunters moved with surgical precision, seeking the last war criminals who had escaped justice for too long. Cooper's boots hit the ground in the capital as plasma fire rained all around. Enhanced reflexes allowed him to dodge between laser bursts. His armor absorbed hits that would have incinerated ordinary soldiers. Still, the Vorthic defenders fought fiercely, but they were no match for humans built for this very kind of war. Target building secure, Major Lisa Stone reported. Minister of War in custody. Intelligence HQ is down, added Captain Joe Davis. 3 more generals, hiding in the sub-basement. We've got them. Cooper kicked open the doors of the Prime Minister's residence, finding the leader, cowering behind a shattered desk. The alien's scales were pale with terror. Please, the Prime Minister stammered. We can negotiate. We can make peace. Cooper stared down at him, eyes unblinking. He thought of Amy Grant's birthday party, of Lisa Grant's research. Of all the lives lost at Kepler, you had your chance for peace, he said. You chose war? He tapped his cum. Moments later, the teleportation field engulfed them. The Prime Minister vanished, taken to Earth in chains, to stand trial with the others who had orchestrated genocide. Dr. Rachel Stone sat in her lab deep beneath the lunar surface, her eyes fixed on the genomic sequences streaming across her screen. These biological samples, gathered by General Cooper's strike teams during the final campaign, held the answer to a vital question. Could some Vorthic subspecies ever be trusted to coexist with humanity in this new galactic order? The genetic markers are consistent, Stone reported to the Intelligence Committee. The Vorthic leadership displays enhanced aggression traits, deeply embedded and systemic. They are biologically predisposed to violent domination. It was a death sentence, wrapped in scientific precision. The very leaders who had orchestrated the genocide at Kepler Station would now face the same judgment they had once reserved for human children. President Mary Davis stood in her command bunker as dawn lit the eastern skies above. Washington. Final reports from the front arrived in rapid succession. The Vorthic military is destroyed. Her aide confirmed. Their government is captured. Their homeworld is fully occupied. As a galactic power they no longer exist. Davis didn't speak. She simply accepted the datapad summarizing the campaign's outcome. Human casualties, 47 killed, 112 wounded. Enemy losses, over 2 million dead. Total fleet annihilation. Government collapse. Humanity had not merely won, they had ended a galactic empire. They had shown what happens when a peaceful species is forced into war. Not just retaliation, transformation status of the other council-line species. Davis asked. 12 have requested individual peace treaties. 8 have applied to join the Terran Alliance. The rest remain neutral, still deciding which side offers survival. On the massive display wall behind her, a galactic map lit up. Red sectors under Terran protection, blue worlds, full allies, yellow zones, unaligned, watching and waiting. The old order had ruled with fear. Now the galaxy feared something else entirely. What? Humans become when threatened with extinction. The age of council dominance was over. The age of Terran protection had begun. 1 year after the Kepler Station massacre, the Great Assembly Hall on Luna was filled with representatives from 67 species. The old council chamber on Nexus Prime was abandoned, its corrupt rule buried under scandal and ruins. President Davis stood at the central podium, flanked by Admiral Kate Miller and General Frank Cooper, living emblems of Earth's resolve. Today, we build a foundation for true peace among the stars, Davis declared. The Terran Accords will replace the hollow promises of the old council with enforceable law and real consequences. Behind her, Ambassador Lynn Carter stepped forward, holding the treaty documents. The rules are clear, she announced. Any species that targets civilians, uses weapons of mass destruction, or manipulates law to justify genocide will face immediate Terran response. A ripple of discomfort passed through the alien delegation. And if disputes arise between members, asked the Antari ambassador carefully, how will they be resolved? Davis gave a cold, practiced smile. The same way we resolved the last one. Obey the land, you will be protected. Break a hand, you will be removed. In the zero-gravity shipyards of Luna's military sector, Colonel Rick Turner guided a group of alien military observers through the Monument Fleet construction zone.